that's not how they're going to calibrate in the year 5000.
This is Jason Suzuki. Welcome to the show. And today's guest is the one and only Raphaël, owner of Hexago. Let me know, what does Hexago do?
Hexago, I truly believe, has the world's most advanced camera, display, and projector calibration software in the world. So we provide a solution for camera manufacturers, VR manufacturers, automotive manufacturers to calibrate their imaging systems and essentially get perfect images that allow them to fulfill their application, whether it's 3D vision, inspection, immersive environments such as VR. Our product Remap enables these manufacturers to essentially remove all their optical problems, and essentially they don't have to deal with all the issues anymore. We're essentially taking that burden off of them, and that's why they like us, because we're making their life so much easier. They can focus on their product, and we focus on solving their optical issues, which is like pretty complex, but we got a very neat and efficient solution for that.
Give us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Where did you get your start?
I grew up in Montreal, Canada. I'm essentially a Canadian Brazilian. I went to school all my life in Canada. And then once I graduated, I didn't see as many opportunities as I like in my field. So I decided to move and I started applying everywhere. I landed a job in the Bay Area, and that's how I got started there.
Now, after high school, you went to college?
Yeah, I went to University of Montreal's Polytechnique of Montreal.
Okay.
I did physics engineering. It was a really, really hard program. Barely survived, but it was all worth it, yeah.
Okay. What year did you graduate?
2017.
Man, that's a tough field right there.
Yeah. Even for me, not doing it again, that's for sure.
So from Canada, how did you end up getting to California?
Right. So being half Brazilian, I never liked the cold. I would show up to school with like many layers of pants and coats, and so at some point I had enough. I started applying to all kinds of companies in Canada. I didn't get too many interviews. The pay was really low. I started applying in Europe, Australia. I started getting some interviews in the United States. The first interview I got was for this small company, Frontier Semiconductor. Okay. And essentially they made it sound like they had a great company with a great culture, but it was something else once I got here.
Okay. And then how long were you there until you went to the next job?
So I worked at Frontier for 3 years. I was hired as an optical engineer, so I would design microscope systems, different measurement systems for semiconductor industry. Then I started taking more roles, and then I became the CTO, a technology officer there. And then that's where I learned a lot, because I got to touch so many things from electrical, mechanical, software, physics, modeling, whatever it is in engineering, I touched it. So
in that job, what was the most challenging thing when you first got in? Was it something specific that was really challenging, or was it like a breeze for you when you got there?
On the phone, when they told me I got the job, they were like, "Oh yeah, come, it's great." And then I needed to get my visa. So actually, I got rejected at the border 3 times, and I missed my flight twice because I was missing this little paperwork, even just to get there. So it took me 3 times of trying to get a visa. Then when I finally got there, I showed up to the company headquarters, and the CEO told me, "Oh yeah, a lady." She was like, "Oh yeah, here's the cafeteria," and then a brawl broke out in the cafeteria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the first day, yeah. And I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?" I was like, "This is."
You're like, "What a great culture is this?"
Yeah, so that was something else, yeah.
Okay, great. There you probably said I needed to get jiu-jitsu, huh?
Yeah, I was the CEO, she's a special lady. How she handles politics is something I never expected. But what was challenging there, to answer your question, essentially they had a bunch of really good people working there before, but they all got like pissed at the CEO and left. So they left with like a bunch of incomplete plans. Like nobody knew how to get back to running. So essentially I had to stay overnight and like look at every bill of material, every line of code, and figure out everything of every system. So I reverse engineered their whole thing, and that took like a lot of time, but I learned so much. So yeah, it was work. I got paid very little. Even at the border, when the agent told me, so what kind of job are you gonna do? I'm saying engineer. He looked at the offer salary, is like, that's technician salary, dude. I'm like, well, it's more than what I would get in Canada. So you're okay. Yeah, and then he told me, no, we don't believe you're an engineer. We believe you're, and that's how I got rejected once too.
So when you said I'm done with this company, where did you apply to? Did you apply to your next one, or did you get recruited to that job?
No, so essentially it was COVID. We moved into a company house.
Okay.
So we brought like a bunch of robots there, a bunch of like big machines. It's like fully automated robots that pick up silicon wafers, put them on their stage. Then the microscope comes in, scans everything, does measurement to make sure everything is up to specifications. So we had like a house with like $10 million of systems. So it was pretty cool. You know, you would go in your bathrobe and work on the robot. But after a while, I decided, let me just do my startup. I had some big projects that I wanted to do, and it was a good opportunity because I saved some money and couldn't go anywhere, so might as well work on my stuff.
And with your project, when did you start thinking about the idea of your business and what you wanted to do? Was there an inspiration? Was it something during work that you seen a problem that, I could find a solution, or was it something unrelated? It was something that you've been wanting to do since a while?
So initially it was more like I wanted to go into nanotechnology, namely like carbon-based nanotechnology, like graphene. And I took this class at university, nanotechnology, and we had a paper. Then I wrote how to make graphene. And then pretty much the teacher like laughed at me. He was like, that'll never work, you know? And I didn't get the best grade. But then turns out like more and more research was coming out, and it was like saying exactly how I was thinking it would go. So initially that's what I wanted to do, but then I realized I need much more resources to get out going. Like you need very expensive equipment. Like you want a deposition machine, it's like $500,000, you know? Like I didn't have that much money, so I decided, okay, let me do another project that can bring in the money and funding without like me fully embedding everything.
Okay.
So I realized that similar to a project I did at that company, my product which is like camera, display, VR, projector, calibration, I had like the idea from a similar thing that was applied to 3D reconstructions of samples in the semiconductor industry. And I took that same strategy and I implemented it to the camera world, and it turned out like to be pretty much unbeatable. It has the most applications possible, and I really believe that we got a gold mine here.
It's a very good creative mind you have for seeing something working in one technology industry and then thinking it might work in something else. Almost like a Steve Jobs with the touch phone. It was a totally different industry with this alarm systems and stuff like that. But he thought there was going to be a time there. So, you know, it's pretty interesting that you put that way.
You know, I want to keep my hair, so that's so risky.
So the process of, so you decided you wanted to do the business, you had the idea. Now, how long was that process to create a full product before you were able to start selling? Like, walk me through that process. Like, how many years was it when you started? What was involved in developing that product?
Once I pretty much left my first job, I worked on my startup for like a year. And then I pretty much was running out of funds. So I was like, well, now I need another job.
Yeah.
So I applied, and then I got a job at Facebook.
Okay.
And at Facebook, essentially, I was doing measurement for them, for all their VR headset, cameras, characterization and stuff. So I got a really good idea of how they were doing it over there. And I thought, this is like very like old ways, you know? It's like, you guys are printing checkerboards like the traditional ways, like you print like a literal checkerboard and then you have your guy like holding it in front of camera like this, and then that's the calibration. I was like, that's not how they're gonna calibrate in the year 5000, you know? Like, I always think how they're gonna do it in the future.
Okay.
And I came up with this idea. I took some data, like, I had free time, and I tried it on VR displays because I had access to like all kinds of VR. So I was able to do a lot of testing, and I realized it was really good. Then I didn't like the culture at Facebook. There's a lot of politics, like in most big companies. So I left, and it was a huge weight off my shoulder because they were really mean. Like,
so from there you left.
Yeah.
What did you go to after that?
Well, after that, I just started applying, and then the next week I had an interview at Apple.
Oh, wow.
When I have free time, I always work on learning more.
Oh.
So I was reading papers and stuff, and I was working on this project on how to create like similar to Face ID. You know, Face ID is like a laser, and then it has a pattern of dots. I was doing some simulations about that, and then they called me, oh, here's an interview for laser safety. And then they asked me the question, so how do you think Face ID is done? And I started laughing. I was like, yeah, I was simulating that last night, actually. And then I showed them the simulation. They were really impressed. And yeah, and then they hired me. So,
man, it's like that, they got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A gold mine. So from there, in Apple, were you still developing your product?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long were you at Apple until you feel like you completed your product?
I've been working at Apple for 2 years before I felt like it was completed. And once it was completed, well, I really put a lot of effort to essentially go forward with the product. So essentially, I have like a philosophy of I'm lazy, like, sue me, okay? But essentially, I only want to do stuff once.
Yeah.
So I always make robot or automation to do my job, or software that can do the analysis for me. And then once you do that, you get free time, and then you can work on your own stuff. And that's how I got to juggle with both. Because if you were working like 50 hours, they ask a lot of you at Apple, right? If I was to work 50 hours, I wouldn't have time to do this. But once I set up all the automation, all my analysis software, then it's like I can be done in like 20 minutes. I've done all the work for the whole month, you know, so.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Now, from there, you got the Apple, you got the product. When did you know your product was done, and what were some of the challenges that you faced in order to make your first sale, or to feel like you're comfortable enough to show it to the public, to sell it to the public?
So I was waiting for my patent to be issued. Once I was done, I started contacting people, and then they just started sending me like their camera. They're like, here's a camera, fix it, we'll see what the result. And essentially, at first, I didn't have the feature to fix it. Like, I got sent a zoom camera. I can zoom, you can spy into your neighbor's bathroom for a mile away, okay? And then, so I was like, how do I fix that? Let's make a feature for that application. So I just started working on that application, and then that completed the feature. Essentially, I used the customer's request as like a motivation to fulfill the feature. That's how I got to complete a lot of features. Just a lot of people send me their hardware or different problems, even problems I never thought about. They would tell me, oh, we have this problem. And then I said, I never thought about that. And then I would create like a solution for that, add it to my software, and then it would be added. The solution only got ready once the customer sent me their prototype or camera or display. And then I was really quick, like in 1 week, I would code the whole thing, test it, send them out a report, or liked it, or had no budget.
So your customers were already responding. They already seen the help that you're able to provide for them. Now, moving forward, do you have like any big plans for the company? Any big contracts coming in right now, or what's landscape looking like right now with your startup and the sales side of things?
So right now it's like a big month for optics. Essentially, like all the big shows are happening right now. So there's like Automate in Chicago. There's Display Week in Santa Clara. There's AWE, which is like a VR conference coming up. And then last month there was SPIE Defense in Washington.
Okay.
So like all these things, they're all like optics related. So right now, everybody's really busy and they don't really have time to do deals. But what I was able to do is right before that period, I got them to send me their hardware. So while they were busy at their conference, I was able to essentially fulfill their request and they really liked it. And then once May ends, like they're all gonna come back and they already agreed that they're gonna go forward.
Okay. Now, who's the main for your sales? Is it you? Do you have a team? What's your main mode of distribution or getting it to B2B? Your company, business to business for your product?
Yeah. So we're actually a family business. So I work with my dad.
Okay.
My dad is like a CFO of the company. Like he does the finance, like all the administrative things. Financial part is not my passion. Like I really love the technical part and I love talking to customers. So I do a lot of the sales and I go to shows. Typically, if you have a company, you get a booth at a conference, right? But the issue with that is that you have to wait for people to come to you. I decided I'll just walk around because you can go to their booth and then they can't leave because like you're stuck at their booth. Yeah. So they got to listen and that's really was a good strategy for me because I don't pay for the booth and they listen. You get really good reference and people get to know you. And it's really about making contacts and a relationship.
So instead of them waiting for you and hoping for them to come to talk to you, you're going there, being direct and making it happen.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, hey, I know you can't leave, so I'm just going to talk about it for an hour now.
Now, with what you have right now, it's like in its baby stage right now. What's your vision? How big do you believe this can go?
So I think like the market for just cameras is about, maybe they make 10 million cameras a year, like worldwide, right? If I can take 1% of that, just in terms of calibration, I think like that's at least $100 million like annually, because I have the patent. So essentially nobody can replicate. I know some countries that don't care about your patents, so that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But we don't sell to people we don't trust. So essentially, like I would rather not make that short-term money and not get my ideas stolen and replicated like in China or something.
Okay.
You know, I'd rather find good, trustable partners that respect my intellectual property and that want to work with me. So I help them, they help me, and it's more like that. That's who I want to deal with.
Yeah. So you and your dad, you guys are the owners of the company.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you getting any? Are you guys doing it all on your own finances? Are you getting any capital coming in from out investors, or is it just you guys?
We're fully self-funded. I have my lab in my garage, as you can see. You know.
Oh.
Yeah. So optical tables, and I buy everything from auctions, tech auctions. They're really great. You can get really good deal. Like this is a $5,000 table. I got it for $170.
Right.
And this is a $1,000 toolbox. I got it for $50. You know, if you have the will and the patience to look for good deals, like you'll find them. And it doesn't take much to get started. Honestly, like yeah, you can buy millions of dollars of equipment. You can hire everybody, but if you have a good understanding of every aspect, or you have a team that covers all of the aspects, I think you can self-fund and get going with a good strategy.
Are you planning on just staying self-funded, or you just want to see how it goes and you'll be open to?
Essentially, I want to go back to nanotechnology at some point. So that will probably need funding, right? But for this company, I think we can, this product, we can remain self-funded. Like we don't need to hold any inventory. Most of it is software. Everybody we deal with are like experts. So it's not like we need 20 application engineer. Everything is like a single click and you do it. We made it so simple that I don't see us needing too many hands or too many brains or too much money to get it done. Yeah.
So when someone says software, I automatically just think it's something that I download on a computer that's going to fix like a camera for just first time seeing it, but it's actually totally different. It's actually a physical product.
Yeah, so it's like a box, and it has like a pattern generator inside, and then we show our proprietary patterns, and then the cameras or the VR displays which show the pattern, and then we can analyze those images and figure out what modification would make the image perfect. And once we do that, we output a correction, which is like in the format of a PNG file, like a image. And then you can simply use basic image processing functions like OpenCV, which is very well known, or we have embedded libraries to apply those. And that makes it so that you can integrate it into like the NVIDIA product like Jetson. You can Raspberry Pi, Arduino, you can put it like anything with a chip can run it pretty much.
Okay. Now for the businesses that are out there that are watching this, like that might be something that might be good for me. Like, how will they even get in contact with you? Do you have a website, or what's the process like if someone's interested in something that you have?
A lot of it is like we talk to the people at the conference, but for those that we don't get a hold on, you can go to www.hexago-tech.com, or you can email us at sales@hexago-tech.com. And over there, we're really responsive. What typically happens is we talk to their team of the company that is interested. Then they send us a prototype. We integrate it into our software, and then we do a report. We blow their minds, and then they sign a contract. So
just as easy as that.
Well, I'm removing a couple steps, but yeah, it's very much.
Well, that's great. Well, yeah, and not like most startups. This startup has a lot of interest. Your product has a lot of interest from not only just small companies, but it's showing interest from big companies as well.
Some companies are kind of like a bit old school. They tell me like, who are you? You're just a kid, like you don't know anything. So these guys are a bit close-minded. I wish they were more perceptive, but some other people, they get it right away. I show them the results. Their minds are blown. They're like, oh, wow, yeah, we really have those issues. Our current pipeline for calibration sucks. Got like a bunch of interns with checkerboards dancing around the factory. It's more elegant, more efficient, solves all our issues. They're really hyped about it. And also they're very creative. Like they give me ideas on what I can add, like.
Just get an idea, how big is a company that's interested? It could be currently, how big? It doesn't have to be the name of the company, but how big is some companies that are interested in your product?
So right now we got like a really big camera lens manufacturer, sells about $500 million in camera and lenses.
Oh, wow.
So they're really interested, and essentially I think I can get 1% off their revenue just from calibrating. So that's a manufacturer, right? But there's also integrators like Facebook, Google, Apple. They all buy cameras from manufacturers and integrate them, right? But they have the same issue. Like they need to fix the cameras, they need to fix the displays, and they come up with their own optics and own solutions. But when you have teams of 50 people working on the issue and it's still not working, well, you might see the value in like some guy walking through the door and telling you, here's the magic box that can do it.
Now, say if you did get that contract, that 1%, how much money are we talking about? Like 1%, like a ballpark? Does that have to be an exact?
So it depends. I would say like typically a company would give us annually $100,000 if they're like small to medium scale. But for the really big scales, they can give us like tens of millions of dollars. I'm not too much of a military guy, right? But if you can correct F-22 targeting system, like you'll make a lot of money essentially. So the applications are endless. Everybody wants to reduce their cost. Essentially, with our technology, you can make crappier cameras, crappier displays, crappier projectors, and still get the same performance or better. So you save money, you get perfect product, and we all benefit. So that's how
it's like the saying would say is sometimes the riches are in the niches.
Yeah, so
I think I've heard that one.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite sayings that I say. But yeah, you know what? Thank you for your time, and it was great